unfortunately, we did have one presenter who canceled the last minute, but nonetheless, we've got some filler activity planned for you, so I think you'll enjoy it. Our first presenter today, I'm going to talk slowly and see if Fraser can get back on. Our first presenter today, Jeff Lester, is with the Neons, which happens to be the same club that Razor belongs to up in Tulsa, and they're going to bring a large layout to Grapevine. Oh, here he is. Okay, I'll turn it back over to Razor now. Razor?
Yeah, some little gremlin went in and turned me off. Couldn't have been me. I never make a mistake. But yes, so as I was saying, what I would appreciate you sharing your experiences at this Zoom meeting with others in your community, and try and get them to join us each month. You only have to, one requirement is you have to be a member of NRail. And reminder that this year, NRail has a special deal for new members only, that the first year's membership is only $5. And you know how to get onto the website, and you can show them that. We'd appreciate you doing that, because we'd like to have others have the opportunity to listen to what our friends have to say. So with that, as Bruce started to say, our first presenter today is Jeff Lester, and he is working with the Neons group in Tulsa, and he is trying to get our stuff up to speed to get ready for the National Train Show in Dallas. And he's found some things that need some work, and he thought these things were of interest, and maybe you all would like to know about them too. So Jeff, it's all yours, my friend.
I appreciate it, and it's a pleasure and a privilege for me to be invited to do this. I just appreciate the chance to visit with other people who are interested in model railroading. So I'll give you the background first for about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to show you some visuals. Neons, when we were at the Oklahoma City Train Show last fall, we were having on day 2 some intermittent connectivity problems, some track power problems on a couple of modules. And it was odd to us because on day 1, we didn't have any problems at all. Everything was just running, ginger peachy, so to speak. But then on day 2, we started having some intermittent problems. And it wasn't on everything on those layouts. It would be like on 1 or 2 of the tracks. And the curious thing was, we'd of course get a group of guys over there trying to plug and unplug connections and try different things. And sometimes it would start working and sometimes it wouldn't. Could not figure it out on the spot. But in getting ready for Grapevine, we've been going through all of our modules very meticulously, looking for issues, and we figured out what the problem was. So that's why I'm excited to share it. If any of you have had intermittent power problems between your modules, this might be what's going on. So I'm going to share my screen. And this is a 1-page handout that I created to hand out to our group to show everyone who was not involved in detecting the problem. And I'm sure we can make this available to everyone who's on this call as well, Razor. But what we learned is that the Anderson power poles, and you're all familiar with these at the ends of the modules, and of course the housings are flipped from one end of the module to the other so that they made up properly. But we're all familiar with these, and we're familiar with the little plastic housing that the wire goes into. Here's what we discovered, and we think we've solved all of our electrical problems. This is what the little metal connector actually looks like when it's soldered on the end of the wire, okay? So it's got a little hook out here. When you look in the end of the housings, and I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit more. When you look in the end of the housings, you see right here that the red housing, it looks different than the black housing. Look over here on the right. On the right, they look the same. And the difference is, even though the wire is pushed into the back of the housing, it had been pulled back a little bit. It was not snapped fully into place. So we discovered all it took was pushing these fully in where they make the full connection. Problem solved. And since we solved this problem, we have tested and tested and tested 4 Saturdays in a row and cannot have a failure. We can't recreate a power failure as long as we make sure we look in the ends of those and make sure they're fully inserted before we plug them together. And of course, the culprit, as you can imagine, really is probably any among us going to disconnect them, pull them apart, grabbing them by the wires and not by the housing. So we've properly scolded people and we'll continue to do so. But it's a very simple issue and a very simple fix. And again, the very module problems that we were having in Oklahoma City, we were replicating those, working on them. They were having the same intermittent power problems. We discovered this. And once we fixed it, we have had no more power problems. So I don't want to run it in the ground here, but I just think it's a fabulous, easy fix that might work for you on your own modules if you run into those kind of intermittent problems.
Thank you, Jeff. I guess the message is that training your people in how to tear down is an important thing. It's not how yeah, you want to get the hell out of there and you want it torn down fast, but you got to do it the right way or it causes problems later on. There's hell to pay. And even though this is power poles, it applies to any type of connections you have, whether it's power poles on NTRaK or whatever it is on TRaK or on Fremo, whatever you use, you want to take them apart carefully, and taking them apart by the housing instead of the wire is the thing to do.
Yes.
Are there any questions for Jeff on this? Okay, hearing none. Jeff, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
I'd like to just add one other thought, just big picture. Our group has decided, sort of the brain trust of us who discovered this and have been trying to figure out how to prevent it in the future. We've decided we're going to add a procedure when we're setting up as well. And that procedure is we connect 2 modules, but before we lay the connector track in, we connect the power poles correctly. And then we use our voltmeters to check the track across from one module to the next to see if indeed we're getting power through the power pole.
Very good.
Then drop the connector track in and we are good to go. So there you go. Thank you. And thanks for having me.
All right. Our next presentation is Mike Tennent with Iron Penguin. And if you're not familiar with Iron Penguin, they deal in lighting issues for HO and N-scale. And they've got a lot of stuff, and he's going to tell you a little bit about what they have and what you may not know and you should know. So, Mike, you're up.
I'm Mike Tennent, live in Brunswick, Georgia, lower east coast of Georgia, near St. Simons, Jekyll Island. I'm a retired National Park Service park ranger, and I have a dedicated N-scale. I have a 12x7 layout, L-shape that basically is kind of like Brunswick here. It's a switching layout that can be run in several ways. I'm the ultimate kitchen table operation. It's just my wife and I doing these. I do the stuff and she comes to train shows, helps me. I started out with the special effects boards, doing like welders and police strobes, campfires, lighthouse, tower operations, that sort of thing. I make my own boards and program them with what's called a PIC chip, which is a programmable chip that does all the different effects. I've always strived very hard for realism. It's not just blinking lights, but very good simulations of whatever I'm doing. Campfire. About the last 4 years or so, I moved into 3D printing. I really just love the process of designing something in CAD and making it a reality. And although the early filament printers weren't very good for N-scale, when the rosin printers came along at a reasonable price, I switched over there, and the detail I'm getting is really good. I'm gone through several generations of printers, and now I have an 8K resolution EPAC, so it's pretty good stuff. It's also allowed me to go into to building small buildings. I have a couple of new buildings coming out as a classic diner, trackside diner, and then a retro pure gas station. But rather than keep talking, I'll go ahead and I'd like to try to show this video and hopefully we'll get it going.
Yeah, you're working just fine, Mike. It's up.
Good. Fantastic. This is my show layout when I go to train shows. Again, this is the same board, same chip, doing all of these simulations. It's just programmed differently, with different colored LEDs. You don't have a tower you can put on. This is a technique I use to print out a radio tower for your backboard and put the lights in. And these are two kits designed specifically for houses, a gas station, and a house light with a TV that flickers inside. And the omnipresent trolley board for Christmas. Color carry a full range of LEDs, the three most common sizes: the anode, pico, and the chip. That's my wife in the background. This is the 3D printed stuff I've been looking. No, I can't paint them for you.
That's nice. And finally, a small collection of cars. And that's the presentation. I have a website and an eBay store. Let's see, stop share. Anyone have any
questions or?
How about the email address?
Email address.
I mean,
Okay.
website.
Yeah. The email is TENNENTM@Yahoo.
If you go to the NRail website, at the bottom of the homepage, there's a link to partners. If you click on partners, you will see IRC, a logo there, and that's Iron Penguin.
Oh,
You click on that and it takes you directly to the website.
They've got one. They've got them on there.
All right, so we'll have that. You can go to the website and get it, and he will get this on here in a little bit.
That's the website.
Okay. And so you can get it from the website or the chat. If you keep an eye on the chat, when he gets it on here, there is his email address is on there now, and he will probably add on his other one. So with that, Michael, thank you very much. Very interesting. And I can see a place for some of those on my layout, for sure. So we are going to move right ahead with our main presentation. And at the end of that, if we've got some time left, we've got some other things up our sleeve, maybe we can show you. But Chuck, are you ready to go?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right. Well, if you're ready, gentlemen, if you've been watching our Zoom meetings for a while, you'll know that Chuck has made several presentations for us, and every time he does, it's something new and really interesting. And I think you'll enjoy this as well. Chuck is out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and admits it. So,
You what?
and you admit it.
Yes, sir.
So Chuck, take it away. Tell us what you got this time.
Okay. I wasn't born here, but my family has been here for quite some time. Parents grew up here in Oklahoma City, and by happenstance, I just ended up here. Fortunately, it allowed me to start pursuing the model railroading when I felt like it was time. And then I discovered the Oklahoma NRail group, Bruce's group, and all the guys there, and have since learned quite a bit. But I've been pursuing a lot of scenery, techniques. Was inspired many years ago, seeing what I thought was one of the most realistic scenery expressions on model railroads out in Colorado. And I determined that at that point in time, I'd try and do everything I could to make anything I do look as realistic as possible. So that's why I've done a few of these kind of presentations on scenery. This one is a little bit more simplified and specific. And I'll share my screen now. Anyway, Bruce asked me to try and put together a presentation. I thought about it a little bit and had been working on a module that we acquired from one of our late friends that just passed away, that we're going to try and incorporate into our Oklahoma NRail setup. In doing that, one of the things that we decided to try and do was we had a river running through there, and I decided to try and put in a little country road that kind of follows alongside it, crisscrosses it, kind of try and make the scene a little bit more interesting. So I came up with a technique based on some suggestions here, and they worked out quite well, and I'm planning to try and share those with you. First of all, country roads, they typically can be the paved roads like the picture on the left, or they might be a gravel road like the one over here on the right, might even be a dirt road. They're about 20 feet wide, and I know that because I actually got out and paced these off, even checked in a couple of websites for what what road specifications there were out there and found out that 20 foot was fairly reasonable road width. I will say that if you want to try and build a like a state highway or an interstate, the lanes in there are usually about 12 feet wide. So you'd have a 24 foot wide road, maybe with an apron on the side. Then the interstates, obviously the 2 lanes are going to be about 24, again with aprons on the side. Those can often be concrete, and sometimes they'll be asphalt pavement too. But I've been focusing more on the country roads because I think those are kind of interesting and fit in with a lot of the sceneries we're trying to depict in our layout. One thing you need to get started with it is I found HO gauge cork road bed for the train's road beds. Works very well for this, and it gives you a fairly uniform width that you can work into your scene. Other things that you will need is a utility or a wallpaper knife, and make sure it's real sharp. Some glue to glue down the cork road bed. White glue is okay. I've found that this Elmer's has something called Pro Bond. That's I think it's a superior glue. It does give kind of a shiny finish on it when it dries. And because of that, I've actually found other uses for Elmer's Pro Bond. That may be another topic for another ZoomTRAK. And then I have some those little track nails that you use to hold down your railroad track. You need some unsanded grout or equivalent. Then I like to use the Activa brand Fast Mache for the ground cover adjacent to the roads. And then I actually use some paving dust or coal dust to actually do the asphalt roads. Arizona Rock and Mineral actually has a product called asphalt paving material. It's pretty dark. They might have one that's lighter out there if you want one that looks like a paved road that's been kind of worn and starting to get turning a lighter gray. And then you probably need some fine sieved soils for your ground cover and the dirt roads that you might be building. Okay, cork road bed. Here's a sample of the cork road bed. When you split it apart, it comes into 2 halves. Then the one thing you need to do then is draw out where your road bed's going to be on your layout. It can be any shape. In this particular case, I'm showing it kind of curving back and forth, and maybe it'd be following a stream or going around a hill or something like that. You only need to draw one line on there for one edge of the road, because once you put that one piece down on that edge, then the other piece, when you lay it down, will be right adjacent to it. So there's no need to show the total width of the road on your layout. Now, cork is somewhat flexible, as you guys are somewhat aware, but in this particular case, I'm bending it here in this particular picture about as far as I can bend it without tearing the cork. It's not really flexible enough here. Now, so how do you make that cork actually bend around much tighter corners is the next question. What I do is I will mark the inside turn on the cork about 3/4 of an inch apart, about halfway through the cork bed itself, and just mark that through the turn radius. Then, using the utility knife, I will cut very thin little wedges or slots out of the cork. And then that allows me to actually put the cork down and bend it. It becomes a lot more flexible. At that point, you can glue 1/2 of the cork road bed to your road surface, and you can use the FlexTRAK nails to hold it in place. Here's a picture of me hammering one of the nails in just to hold the cork bed in place. And once you've got one cork road bed down, you can start laying the other one right adjacent to it. You can see, again, holding it down in place with the track nails. Now, simply glue the second piece right adjacent to the first cork road bed, and then you've got essentially the start of a cork road. Now, one thing about these road beds is that they kind of have a little flashing on the edges. So I will take the sharp utility knife and try and trim off this flashing. You can also do that with either a wood file or maybe even like a 100 or 120 grade sandpaper. In this particular case, you can see on the left, I've trimmed it. On the right, you can see kind of that little flashing edge that doesn't look very realistic. But in trimming it, you can actually have that edge of the road taper off, much like you'd see on a real road, where you have kind of a high point in the middle of the road, and it tapers off to the side for drainage. Now, what you end up with here is a road bed that's about 1.5 inches wide, and that is actually 20 feet to scale, which is kind of what we're looking for. You can see I've got 2 vehicles on here, and unfortunately, at the time when I took this particular picture, that red flatbed truck was all I could find, and I don't think it's really a good scale truck. I think it's too wide, but the bus is pretty good on there, and it really does provide, as you'll see a little later, plenty of width on the road. Okay, now one thing you can see here with these is you got little gaps there where you cut out notches, maybe right down the center line of the road bed. So what do you do about that? That's where you mix and apply a thin coat of the non-sanded grout, and this can be done to fill in the gaps and smooth the surface of the cork. Another thing you can do with that is you can add a latex paint color to that non-sanded grout, and actually gives you a better base color to work with, just in case you don't get full coverage on the soils or the black asphalt that you'd be laying on it here next. Now, once it's down there, you can also sand that grout down when it's dry, and other fillers such as Woodland Scenics High Cal plaster, or a product I happened to come across called Smooth It. It's again a Woodland Scenics, or even some wall spackling could be used to actually do this filling in. Now, once you got that taken care of, then you want to start building up the terrain on either side of the road. I do that with this fast mache that I've already mentioned. You add some water to it and mix it together, and it makes an oatmeal type paste consistency, which latex paint, whatever color you might like, can be added to that to colorize it. That way, if you damage the surface there, at least maybe it looks the right color and doesn't need to be repaired. Then I'll spread that paste mixture along the sides of the roadbed, blending it into any adjacent scenery or terrain that I might happen to have on there. Once I've done that, I want to make sure I taper off the paste mixture away from the edge of the road to create bar ditches on either side of the roadway, and I do that with the spatula that you can see in that second picture. I suppose a lot of you know what a bar ditch is. It's just a drainage ditch on the side of the road. But one thing I did learn is how it came about being called a bar ditch, because there's nobody having mixed drinks there on the side of the road. So it's not a real bar. Anyway, it comes from the term borrow. So what they would do when they're building these roads was they dig these trenches, and the dirt that comes out of the trenches are used to build up the center of the road bed before they lay any asphalt or put down any gravel for the roads. Once, I kind of skipped that. Okay, once finished placing the paste, I make sure to allow it to dry overnight. It might take even a little bit longer if you apply it in some areas more thick. The other thing that's kind of nice about it is that after you let it kind of set for an hour or so, you can come back, moisten the tip of your finger and work it a little bit if you think there's some places that need some adjustment. So it's a very, very workable material, I think, when you're working on your terrain. Okay, after it's all dried, I'll come in and I'll apply a thin layer of the white glue to the adjacent terrain surfaces. Then, using a fine mesh nylon stocking, I will cover the glued surfaces with whatever soil dust that you prefer. This is, in this particular case, this is some dust that I had acquired from a construction site here in Oklahoma. Try and avoid getting any of that soil from the very top surface, because you probably have a lot of organics in it. But if somebody's digging a basement or something, you know, like a highway where they're digging down deeper or something like that, and they've got a lot of the soil that they've turned over from deeper down in, there probably won't be much in the way of any organics in it that might cause you problems down the line. Or if you want to, you can actually put these soils into an oven and cook them at a high enough temperature that it would kill off any bacteria or seeds or anything else that might have an issue at a later date. I've been doing this for several years with this stuff, and I've never had any issues with my soils in the several years that I've used them. I do have a previous presentation on realistic modeling. I think it's probably out there on the website somewhere, where I actually talk a little bit more about these soils. So if you're interested in doing that, you can go out and find my previous presentation and maybe learn something from that about how I went about doing it. Now, once the soils on your adjacent surfaces are dry, then I come in with the white glue once again, and I'll apply the thin layer of glue just directly to try and apply it evenly, but I apply it just to the roadway surface that I want to cover with either a gravel, which typically might look a little different from the soils on the adjacent to the roadway, or if it's asphalt. But you don't want to get much of that down into, say, your bar ditch or whatever in the case of the asphalt roadways, because when you start spreading your black asphalt on it, then it gets on there, then it's going to stick and you can't get it off. Whereas if you don't get any glue out into that dirt area, but you get some of the dust, the soil dust or the asphalt dust out there, you can actually blow it away once you're done. Now that I've got my roadways put down, I like to come at least with an apron on the sides of my asphalt roads, and I'll put a little 1/4-inch glue strip down on the side of the road into the bar ditch, and then I'll sprinkle a soil dust on it to give it kind of the look of the apron of the road. And here's a picture of the 2 roadways that I built in this particular case for this demonstration. I did add some fine grasses and coarse grasses through here just to give the train a more lively look here for this presentation. You can do whatever you want to with your adjacent surfaces. One other thing I did here toward the end of the dirt road is I created a 2-track road at the end. I always like to have a few 2-track roads to kind of represent where farmers might have their trucks go out into the pasture to drop some hay for the cattle or do other things out in the pasture. So it just gives them access. Might even represent some 2-track roads that you might find up in the mountains or other places like that. So one thing I'll say here is that, you know, in this particular case, and you can kind of see it, the edges of the roadway are not exactly perfect, but that is what makes the roadways more realistic. Because if you really look down the edge of these, you know, any roadway, you'll see that there's a little bit of spillover of the asphalt, or the gravel spills out further into the bar ditch or something like that. In the case of the asphalt road, I like to take a fine point black Sharpie and kind of draw a little thin pencil line, you know, squiggling it on there, and that represents the tar filler for the roadway cracks that you often see. This was the original module that I had started working on, where we first applied this particular technique of using the cork road bed. And you can see how this road twists around. Then I come to a creek up here, and then it comes around a pretty sharp corner and continues on behind this hill. Now I've got, because of the elevation of the cork, you do have a slope away from the center of the road, and maybe towards this creek bed over here to the left. And then on the right side, there's a depression that follows the roadway, and that'd be the bar ditch. And that pretty much covers my presentation, and I hope that you find that useful for any modeling that you guys do out into the future.
Thank you very much. Again, if we've got some time here, so if there are any questions for Chuck, now would be a great time to ask them. Okay, if there are no questions, Bruce, we've got some options here. We thought we might take a little bit of time and give you a chance to talk about NRail, the NRail organization. Bruce, you want to explore that a little bit?
Okay. Just to let you know, our organization is growing, and we'd like everybody to download one of our membership brochures. Everybody here is a member already, and hope that you'll consider downloading a membership brochure and give it to a friend or an acquaintance, or take it to your club. One of the things we're trying to do is promote the concept of super clubs, where everybody in the club is an NRail member, and certainly there are some benefits that super clubs already have with increased discounts, and we're working on a couple of others. Also, if you would be willing to help us in any way, we're always looking for people who have specialty talents. We're trying to, for example, investigate some possibilities with insurance. So if anybody has any previous experience in their life with insurance, please do contact us. You can always send email to info@nrail.org and say, hey, here is what I can do for you. You know, it may just be a couple of hours a month or something, or maybe not even that much. Sometimes just providing some advice and pointing us in the right direction helps. Again, we are in the process of always looking for material for our website, and I know that Steve is always looking for articles, and of course both of us are looking for pictures, either as part of articles or even just to put out on the website. So if you can do that, that would be great. Provide us with material that we can share. One of the things that I think club members will tell you is that one of the big joys of being a club member is being able to share your experience and knowledge with other people, as well as what you learn from your fellow club members. So NRail is kind of a giant club, and sharing is something that that I think brings us some satisfaction when we see our submissions either in print or on the website or whatever.
Okay.
Well-
Go ahead.
Also, we will be putting up a poll probably in about at the end of the session. I do want to encourage everybody to answer the poll and provide us with feedback, because we use that information. We have some open questions at this point on this poll. One other thing I want to mention is that we have a 50th anniversary banquet that we have gone ahead and set up for Grapevine. If you're going to be going to the convention or just even the train show, please do consider going on the website to the store and getting signed up for the banquet, which is going to be Friday night. We scheduled it so that it's after the layout shut down. And we already have one vendor who's going to provide a handout for everybody who comes to the show. So who comes to the banquet, I should say. Okay, Steve.
All right. With the time we have left, I want to throw some ideas at all of you. When we talk about modeling, our mind goes to the layout and to the scenery and that sort of stuff. But I want to throw an idea out at you about, besides modeling the layout of the town or the countryside or the roads like we just talked about, you can model trains. There are a lot of famous trains that we see that are published, put together and sold as sets. Kato has done several of them that are very nice. But how many times have you been at a show and somebody starts asking about your train? Well, are those engines DC? Are they DCC? And are they all real or are they not? And how many cars are there in this train? Things like that. And where did you get that idea? Well, I'm going to screen share here a minute. I'm going to show you something called a train board. Let's see. Let me screen share and get this. You'll see 3 train boards on here, and these are just examples of what we put together that tells people about the train that's on the track. Now, since I'm basically an N-tracker, we have 3 tracks on there, and there's trains running on all 3. So this gives a general piece of information to all the people that are attending the train show, what they're looking at. What kind of a train is it? What kind of engines are they? Where'd they come from? There's the prototype information, and then below that you'll see a section on the train, whether it's analog or DCC, what brand, what kind of locomotive it is, how many cars are in the train, how long the train is, what speed are you running it at, and then something about the train itself. And if you'll notice on the bottom of this thing, this first one is a Santa Fe heavyweight passenger train. And I put together a little story about it. And it brings a reality to the train you have. There's this was a Kansas Cityan. On the middle track, you'll see, let me see if I've lost my picture here. Well, anyway, there's 3 of them there. And the idea is that you can look at the information about the trains themselves. And I've lost, here we go. What picture do you have up there now? The same one you had?
Yep, it's the module with I can't see exactly what it is. The factory is on it.
Okay, it's got 3 modules, and you can see front, middle, and rear, and there's another set.
Yep.
We built a little frame for those things. Actually, the one on the left is attached to the to the tower of our radio tower. And it lets the people see what kind of trains we're running. Now, we thought this was a great idea, and it is, and it's fun. However, the downside is we found that people don't like to have to actually read. So it kind of, it's got its good point and its bad point. They want you to tell them what's going on. They don't want to have to make any effort to read it. But either way, whether you publish it or whether you just have it in your pocket, the idea is you can take any train and tell a story about it and make it interesting to the people that are attending the show. And it's something for you to think about, to bring another aspect to your model railroad experience. And I'm sorry I didn't have this in the presentation. This is a last minute fill in that I just threw out there to let you all have something to see. So any questions about that? All right, well then let me talk about next month's meeting is May the 13th, which is, what is that, 4 weeks from now. And we'd like to again ask you to spread the word, spread the faith, let people know about this. If they aren't coming to signing on to ZoomTRAK, ask them to do so. For those that we had a note from one person who said he wants to attend them, but he never has been able to because he's busy on Saturdays a lot of times. Remind everyone that although we feel it's better to catch this thing live and where you can be interactive with the program, if for some reason you can't attend 1 month's meeting, 30 days after the meeting ends, which is, in other words, when the main meeting starts a month from now, this ZoomTRAK presentation will be posted online on the NRail YouTube website. And it's really easy to find. You get to YouTube and you do the NRail channel, ask for the NRail channel, and it'll take you to this. And we've got 3 years of this now. I think this, and all these are all online, and you can go through them. They are indexed where you can find the articles or the presentations that you're interested in and take a look at those. And again, anyone who is a member of NRail has access to all that. As you know, Bruce has put up the poll. We ask you all to please fill it out for us. Let us know what's going on. The one other good thing about having this extra few minutes is I can hopefully try and encourage you, if you have something that you would like to share with the rest of the N-Scale Model Railroading group, this is a great place to do that. We are always looking for new articles and new people to present them. Just like the little thing that Jeff Lester put together. It's not a big, long presentation, but it's interesting stuff and stuff that we kind of run into all the time. And it's good to share that with the rest of the industry and model railroading groups. So think about that. And if you've got something to share, please contact us through the website, and we'll get back with you and try to get you scheduled on a future show. If you have a layout that you're proud of, and I'm sure we're all proud of our layouts and would like to share that with us, we try to have as often as we can a layout presentation. We try to hold these to 10 minutes if we can, 15 minutes at the most. And if you have a layout you'd like to share with us, show us what you've been doing, we would love to get you scheduled on the show. So with that, fill out the form. Have a great day, and we will see you next month on May 13th.